Now, I did one of these things just once, but I have learned my lesson and I will never do this again. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, there's a trend going around on TikTok, and it might be going around elsewhere as well. And the idea of it is that people are sharing 5 things that they wouldn't do as a, well, whatever their experience is. So as a doctor, as a flight attendant, as a stay-at-home mom, there's a wide range. So I thought I would take a little bit of a stab at this myself, and I would share 5 things that I would never do as a cruise travel expert. Now, I am using the word expert very loosely, and I really am going to be sharing sort of lessons learned, but genuinely 5 things that I would never do. I probably have a little bit more than 5, but these are the biggies. Before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would love to have you here within the LifeWell Cruise community. Let's get started. Number 1, I would never book an inaugural cruise. Now, while it can be cool to be able to say that you were one of the first people to be able to experience that cruise ship, that definitely is kind of a cool factor, kind of bragging rights, if you will. However, just in terms of the disadvantages, I think there are too many. Firstly, it is going to be generally pricey. You're not going to get any deal on an inaugural cruise. At the same time, generally, the crew, they just need some time to work together to be able to work out all of those snags. So it's not usually the absolute best service. Sometimes the entertainment, well, it really hasn't all come together either. Even sometimes there are some areas on the cruise ship that may not be complete by the time they do the inaugural cruise. Now, I should mention, when I say that I would never book an inaugural cruise, it doesn't mean that I would never take an inaugural cruise. So if any cruise lines do want to invite me to an inaugural cruise in the future, I definitely would be happy to go. Number 2, I would never, ever, ever fly in on the same day as my cruise, and I wouldn't even drive in on the same day as my cruise unless I had like a couple of hours drive. But if I have like a 4-hour drive, I definitely would do that the day before, stay in a hotel that is close by to the cruise port. I just think anything can happen. A few years ago, we were driving and we did leave a couple of days early. We were driving from Canada all the way to Florida, and somewhere around, I believe it was North Carolina or South Carolina, we did have a problem. We had a problem with our tires on a car that was like 6 months old. Thank goodness we did stop right next to a Costco. They were able to fix it up in a couple of hours. Thank goodness for Costco. But in any case, things can happen. I just wouldn't want to miss my cruise. And flying in on the same day as your cruise, oh gosh, things can happen. Flights can be delayed. There can be weather. Anything can happen. It is just so worth the expense to have the peace of mind, stay at a hotel the night before. Number 3, I would never remove the automatic daily gratuities that are charged to cruise passengers on a cruise. Now, in my case, I usually just prepay them before my cruise because I know that I'm not actually going to be removing them. And I'd rather have that charged before than see that extra sort of expense on a bill or an invoice at the end of my cruise. Now, I know people have different schools of thought on this, but the way I see it is that the crew does work really, really hard, and the service is just amazing. That really is why cruising is my preferred vacation. I know that whether I go to the buffet, whether I go to the main dining room, my cabin attendant, all of the people that I see, or even the people behind the scenes, are really working so hard to make sure that like my vacation is amazing and that I come back. So I feel like I cannot remove the automatic daily gratuities. Number 4, I would never book the cheapest cruise. Now, what I really mean is I would never book a cruise based on price alone. And I have to say, this I did once. In the past, I booked a cruise that was about $1,000 cheaper than all of the other cruises that were leaving that week for about the same amount of days. And I thought, well, great, I got an amazing deal. But honestly, when we were on the cruise, well, it was an older cruise ship. There were a lot of things that I didn't really like that much. The cruise ship, I think, was going to go into dry dock a couple of weeks later. The staff, things were just off on that cruise. And really, when we were on the cruise, my husband and I would look at each other and we'd say, we spent $1,000 less, but we got what we paid for. So now when I book a cruise, I always do a little bit of research and I make sure that I never book a cruise based on the price alone. Number 5, I would never be late back to the cruise ship when I'm in a cruise port of call. Not to mention that I'm a little bit of an anxious or a nervous traveler. So that's number 1 reason that I would never be late. But at the same time, I have genuinely seen pure runners that have like almost missed the cruise ship. All of us have seen those videos on YouTube. And as much as I have a channel on YouTube, I just don't want to be YouTube famous because I have missed a cruise ship and I am like crying on the dock. Now, if you've watched some of my videos before, you know that I sometimes book cruise line excursions, but I also do book private excursions. I've also gone and explored on my own, whether taking a taxi or even public transit. But what I always do is I really research to make sure that I'm just never taking too much of a risk. I definitely don't want to do that. And my rule of thumb is if I am going off on my own, basically not with a cruise line excursion, what I do is I make sure that I'm back near the cruise port area within about 2 hours of the all aboard time, just to be safe. Now, I really would like to hear from you if these are things that you agree with, disagree with, and what other things are things that you would never do as a cruise passenger. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.